I'm Jim Tweddle. I'm the very fortunate owner of a DB4 that I bought many years ago when it wasn't crazy pricing like it is now, so very, very fortunate. It started with me in 1963, probably, 62, 63, when I went to the Round the Houses races in Albany. It was actually what we call a DB3S, which was, and this particular car was a factory race car that had actually come second at Le Mans in 1956 in the hands of Sterling Moss. The owner at the time, Ray Barfield, raced it at Caversham. He also obviously raced it in Albany at the Round the Houses races. So it was a red car. It was car number 8, and it just had this characteristic noise, and it just looked stunning. Wasn't particularly successful, but it was a stunning motor car. And I guess in those teenage years, it sort of sowed the Aston Martin name, and it wasn't until '79, I guess, that I had the cash and one became available. So there was a bit of a loop. The next one after that was in 85, yep. Then they kind of flowed a little bit after that. There was a previous owner, a previous member of the Aston Club, and a couple of us met with him. He was retiring and wanted to cash in, and he'd had the car for probably about 10 years. It had been down on a farm in Williams, and he was in the club, and a couple of us went to see him, and between the three of us we worked out the price, and it was a matter of who had the cash at the time, and I was lucky that I did. It was owned by James Harwood, and he says that the planning for the York Motor Museum took place in this car as he drove to and from York.
So what are the idiosyncrasies of the DB4, Jim?
Oh,
like, what are the sort of odd things about it?
that's normally the owners. I mean, the owners have to be as idiosyncratic as the cars.
But to drive the vehicle, every car's got its own quirks. What sort of quirks does the DB4 have?
Well, well, at the moment we're running on cross-ply tyres, so it tends to wander a bit, although it's not today.
Yep.
Fairly heavy clutch, fairly heavy gearbox. You've got to be decisive with the gear change.
Yep.
It's a big heavy gearbox made by David Brown, who was making tractors and gearboxes for the mining industry and marine industry at the time. So it's a heavy gearbox. Sure, it's got 4-wheel disc brakes, which is fantastic for its time, but the pads are about the size of a matchbox, and so any little Japanese, Korean, Australian small car has much better brakes than this does, and of course, coupled with little skinny 600 by 16 tyres, the footprint on the road is only the size of a hand for each wheel. So that's probably not so much an idiosyncrasy; it's probably more a caution. Yeah, you've got to adjust your driving style.
What's your worst memory in the DB4?
Probably my worst memory was looking at Paul Blank's face when I was competing in the Classic Rally, and Porsche 928 alongside me, and I was giving it a bit of willy. And anyway, we came out of the Langley Park track onto the Riverside Drive, and as I said, the clay had carried over, and I wasn't quite aware of that, and so I hit the bitumen and gave it a bit of a bootful, and saw the back went out, and I sort of overcorrected and took out one of the pine trees, or one of the little palm trees running down the middle of just near the Barrack Street jetty. I wasn't hurt. It was no big problem. We whacked the tree just the rear of the front wheel on the driver's side, and of course it cracked the windscreen, and there's no structure in there, so it looked terrible. But fortunately, I was about to restore the car anyway, so it only really meant another couple of panels, which I managed to get from England. So it just added a little cost to the restoration project, but that was a bit unfortunate. You shouldn't be driving an Aston like that, but we restored the car, and the next event, Paul awarded me the best looking car in the classic rally, so that kind of justified it. Yeah, a number of people have asked why I stay with the marque, with Aston Martins. I suppose part of it was the sort of the relationships in the club and the people in it and the international affiliations, and I really liked what I had. And as I've done, I've kind of got a spread of cars across the different era. Don't know, it's a hard question to answer.